This is Culture Girl, and I'm here at the entrance to the Art of the Americas Gallery, which I intend to peruse in depth today. But this is not the only new thing that's happened in connection with the great Norman Foster design expansion and renovation that's gone on here. There's also something new happening in the first gallery you walk into in the Art of Europe Gallery, and here to tell us something about that is George Shackelford, the head of European art at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Hi, George. How are you?
Glad to have you here.
Okay, take us in and let's take a look around.
Come on inside. And welcome to the Art of Europe.
Thank you so much.
The macaw that you see at the centerpiece of this installation of birds and other animals made at the Meissen porcelain factory in the very early days of its manufacturing is in fact a native of the Western Hemisphere. So we have an American greeter here in the form of the macaw. This ensemble of Meissen porcelain, particularly of these large birds, is unparalleled in any place outside Dresden. So come to Dresden or come to Boston and see these here. We were talking earlier about condition in these,
yes.
And it's a sort of
intuitive.
Goes against anti-intuitive, counterintuitive fact that you really want your Meissen birds, as in the case of this vulture, to have some noticeable cracks, because these big cracks indicate that the pieces were made in the early days of the factory getting started, before they really perfected the techniques that would lead to a century, essentially, of great porcelain making. And all around us are ceramics from Germany and other European centers. And I pay particularly attention to, across the room here, a great Italian sculpture made after a model by the sculptor Piemontini at the Doccia porcelain factory outside Florence, the Grand Ducal porcelain factory, and it is the gift of one of our trustees. And I was telling you earlier that we were all quite delighted and surprised when confronted with what a magnificent gift this actually was. And it represents Juno. It's one of just a handful of large-scale figures like this made at Doccia. And in fact, though, the identity of the mythological figure represented wasn't known by the owner, she put a peacock on it every year at Christmas time, and so she had some kind of osmosis of the fact that it was really meant to be Juno with her bird, the peacock.
Yes, okay.
But we celebrate all holidays.
Yes, and there was one object here that particularly resonated with me because it is the Hanukkah season, which I do celebrate. So tell us a bit about this magnificent object right here.
Actually, just before Hanukkah last year, we were able to purchase at auction, with the support of many, many friends, this pretty remarkable mid-18th century German Hanukkah lamp, made clearly for a family of some means. It's in silver and silver gilt, with an elaborate repoussé and sculpted cast back. And contrary to our usual image when you say the word menorah, candelabrum springs into your head. And instead, this is made as an oil lamp with reservoirs for the oil across the bottom register. And a wick would have been inserted in each of these registers and would have burned the oil that was held therein. The central light is missing from the top. And I don't know that we'll ever find it. We'll certainly never replace it with something that isn't correct.
Yes.
And we're working on the iconography. My colleague Marietta Cambereri, who with our senior curator for sculpture and decorative arts, Thomas Mickey, and our senior curator for paintings, Ronnie Bayer, really planned this gallery. Well, Marietta has been at work just recently on the iconography of the two figures. Judith with the head of Holofernes is pretty clear on the right, but who exactly is represented by the man on the left will remain to be seen.
Okay.
So it's still a focus of intense scholarly activity. Absolutely.
Now, this is really an entire reinstallation of this room. Tell us a little about the cases and about the thinking behind the gathering of these objects.
Well, one of the main things that we wanted to do was to create and this is true throughout the American wing, which you'll visit next, and which I hope will provide a magnet for many of your viewers. The casework was designed to the Boston specifications and then built in Italy, and it's remarkable in terms of the quality of the glass that is used. It's virtually invisible when you're standing in front of the objects. Always at breaking angles you can see reflections, but when you're standing in front of a thing, there's this sense that you're actually able to, as if you were able to reach out and touch it. But of course, that's not going to happen. You're looking now at a remarkable sort of liturgical, shall we say, ensemble of gold threads woven through silk and embroidery and fantastic embroidered flowers. That's just a spectacular recent acquisition of the museum. And we have here then materials that are in cases, but also some things that stand free, like this furniture here, where things that don't have to be in cases are able to be displayed.
And there's certainly a certain difference in philosophy in how you've brought together diverse kinds of objects. Can we discuss that a little bit too?
Sure. Well, one of the themes that gets announced here is the interplay between Asia and Europe. And so, for instance, on top of this table, we see ceramics made actually in China for export to European markets and to various European markets. So it might be going to, to England or France or Germany or the Iberian Peninsula, let's say. Above, however, in Chinese style is a length of Dutch furnishing fabric in silk, and this will be an object that rotates every several months to preserve the fabric from.
And what comes next? What are your next projects for
and
rethinking and reinstallation?
From here, we hope we're just going to keep on moving all the way to about 1900, which is 1950, which is where the European collections give over to other departments of the museum.
So we'll see you again in about 10 years when it's all done?
I hope it'll be sooner than that.
Okay. Thank you so much, George.
We look forward.